Los Angeles.
There's a famous Randy Newman song about L.A. Apparently, he mildly enjoys it.
He loves L.A.
I love L.A. What was his number one song that he had that we really hated?
You got a friend in me.
No, Short People.
Yeah.
Me and I think you're
not partial to that one personally.
Yeah, no. I thought it was a horrible song, and it's very mean, very mean spirited, and he's not tall himself.
No.
Yeah, he's only like 5'7", I think.
Well, he towers over me by an inch and a half if I stretch.
Yeah. So L.A.
In trouble.
Have you watched the videos?
Bits and pieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's all I can really stand.
Yeah.
Because I do not understand. If I was going to, and I hate to use the word because it messes up our algorithms, but I'm going to use the word because there's no other word for it.
Protest.
No. Protest is one thing.
Yeah. Well, that's a word you can use, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Protest is one thing. I'm okay with the protest. But when you go and you start doing damage and you're blocking people hardworking people to trying to get to work.
Yeah.
That's no longer protesting.
No, it's being an asshole.
That's exactly what it is. And like I was saying, I have no problem. You go in the plaza, you can hold up whatever sign you want to hold up, even if I think I might look at you and go, that guy's an asshole, but he's got the right to do that. But when you start walking in traffic, you're throwing bricks at police cars and you're doing illegal activity.
Right.
And they're protesting over people that are here illegally. I am confused by this, Lenny. So I need you to make sense of what they're doing in the streets of LA for the last 3 nights, 2 nights, 3 nights. I think it's 3.
2, 3. It'll be going on 3 tonight.
I think it's 3 tonight.
Well, it's their attempt at civil disobedience, but civil disobedience should be peaceful disobedience. There's no reason to tear down street signs. There's no reason to hurl anything at a cop, because then when you get clinked up, you have no right, and nobody's gonna say, "Oh, poor them," because then they're stupid. You know, whether this is just frustration, and it hasn't even gotten hot yet. Wait, it's the heat of the summer. That's really going to add impetus to a lot of this. But if you're there to protest and you're doing it legitimately, that's fine. You don't need to block traffic, because LA doesn't need any help blocking traffic for sure. That's not anything good. You don't block the 101 because people need to get places. But people are reacting to the heavy-handed fact, and LA has said quite easily that they can handle this with their police and the sheriff's department right now. The governor did not call up the National Guard. It was the president doing it in lieu of the governor. Normally the governor requests federalization.
Well, have they gotten there yet? I don't think they've gotten
National Guard's there.
They are?
The Marines are not. They just called up 700 Marines, or he just activated 700 Marines from Camp Pendleton. Also, it's not the normal National Guard. It's the combat unit of the National Guard, which is not making people comfortable
either. Don't drift into our other topic over here now. Okay. Because that's your posse, whatever it is.
All right.
Because I think that's where you're going with
it's all entwined.
Yeah.
It's all entwined. But whether or not,
and I asked you to tell me what the protesters are thinking.
They're thinking that ICE is rounding up people indiscriminately without due process. They're grabbing people off the street. They're not giving them a right to an attorney or right to a phone call. They're moving them out of state.
If they're not U.S. citizens, why would they have U.S. rights?
According to the courts, they have the right of habeas corpus. They need to be heard. And once they're heard, then they can be thrown out of the country. And if they're here illegally, I got no problem with that. You got to understand, I have no problem with illegal aliens being deported. I do have a problem with people that are in the country for 20 years being at the top of the list when the president explicitly says it's gangsters, murderers, rapists, and people that are doing crimes in the country.
They're not sending their best.
No, exactly, because they're and proof to me.
But that's not part of it. I can tell you this.
Right.
I know of 3 people that have been not deported, but are being detained right now.
They shouldn't go to their hearing.
Okay. Well, no. They're in Texas. They're gone.
They
were illegal.
Oh, they're already in the detention center.
These were good people.
Okay.
These were good people. These are people that I've had in my house.
Right.
They're good people, but they were illegal. One of them was working off of his brother's ID.
Okay.
And he's had a child here that might help him, but I don't think it does anymore.
No, it used on a humanitarian basis, but no longer.
Where we're at, and we're in lily white St. Johns County. So,
Mostly, yeah.
So I mean, we're kind of isolated from what's going on in LA, but I don't understand. Here's what I find just downright ignorant. Why would you go out and protest and then almost encourage them to arrest you, and you're illegal at the same time, which is happening also, which is mind-boggling to me. And then the other one is, we talk about the gangs. The people I see protesting / rioting aren't Spanish people. The people I saw today in the clips, it was a woman, it was a black woman who tried to run over a police officer.
Well, that's foolish.
This police officer happened to be a white police officer. He gets her out of the car. He's not roughhousing her at all. And he gets her out of the car, stands her up, and she punches him in the face. All right. He goes to grab her again, and she swings. Another officer, a black officer, grabs her from behind. She gets away and still punches the first white officer, who still has not thrown a punch.
Okay. Good for him.
The black officer says, done with this, and cold cocks her, knocks her out cold. All on film. And you know what they're going to say? They're going to, the LAPD is probably going to have to pay her something after she just assaulted a police officer.
She was resisting arrest, and she was obstruction on a police officer. That's a felony.
That seems to be the logic of the world, but it doesn't seem to be that way in LA. It just doesn't.
We'll see how this one shakes down. But the problem is, you're saying, so it's not the illegal aliens that are protesting. Of course, they can't protest because they're going to get grabbed up right away.
But some of them are, and then they're just walking into the hands.
Well, that's poor
stupid.
planning.
That's
poor planning.
That's just idiotic, in my opinion.
Right.
But then it's the group of people that normally, the Spanish and the black culture in LA normally aren't buddy.
It's in a lot of places in this country that there's a distrust between the African American and the Hispanic populations.
Yeah, and LA's one of those that's pretty strong with that. But that's who I'm seeing protesting, and they don't even know what the hell they're protesting about.
I think they know what they're protesting about, and a lot of it is due process or lack thereof. A lot of it is the fact that if they chase all the illegal Hispanics out of the country, somebody's going to have to pick up the jobs, and that'll take care of the entitlement programs. You get a job, you're off the federal dole. Yeah, and Rebecca just said, "Why do you need another officer?" Because I can tell you this: a white officer in a situation like that hitting a black woman, right, would not, no matter if she hit him or not, right, it wouldn't. It's a good thing the other officer was of the same race, or it would have been really bad. It just it would have been, because all they would have done was clipped him punching her instead of showing the whole clip. Right. So it would have been horrible. So that was part of it. But I still, like I said, protest if you want. But if you're stopping someone trying to get to work and you're blocking highways and you're blocking streets, it's rude. That's just you're not being American. Right. You're being an asshole. Now, I have a question for you. So there's conjecture, which I don't know if it's been proven. If it has, I'm not aware of it, and I'm not saying that it hasn't been proven, but I don't know that it has, that in the melee at the Capitol, there were Asian provocateurs by the FBI. Okay? If you can accept that as a reality, it's hard not to accept the fact that to get the violence escalated, to give Donald Trump the ability to what he's been salivating on for years to prove how strong he is, what a strong man he is, how authoritarian he can be, how law and frickin' order, the man who is a felon and flaunts the law every chance he gets. You tell me that you don't think there's people in there ramping up this crowd to incite violence? You know what? And I'll tell you this. I'm not a firm believer of there were people at January. I think there was one person responsible for January 6th, and he's now our president. And he's responsible for a lot of this. I don't think he's responsible for this.
He's not the one who said, come into our country illegally. And if other people would have handled it properly and just followed the laws that are on the books, we wouldn't be in this situation. This goes back 3-4 presidents.
Okay.
W didn't do a damn thing.
Right.
And at the end, W claimed, oh, well, they stopped coming across the border because we were doing this. No, they stopped coming across the border because our economy sucked.
Right.
And then Obama came in when the economy sucked. And he's like, see, this isn't happening on my reign. Well, as soon as Obama spun the economy, guess what happened? They came back. They came back because the jobs were back.
So what did Trump do in his first 4 years to correct this? That it's now he's landed on.
He was going to build a wall.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Yeah, he didn't. He's not. Republicans can't use eminent domain. There was no way he was possibly going to build that wall.
He's grabbing land all across Texas.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
He's expanded the military perimeter.
Okay, CNN. Okay, let's try not to be CNN.
Let's try to be real.
Okay, listen to what I'm telling you right now. All right, he did not grab the land. He would have had to grab like 1,200 miles. All right, to claim what he was going to build.
Okay.
All right. You know how much he grabbed? The great grab that he did. He grabbed 2 properties.
So he can't do it. So he's not good at what he does.
He grabbed. I agree with you. Someone said, "Oh, he's going to build this." He's never going to build that freaking wall.
And Steve Bannon,
that's not going to exist. That wall is never going to exist.
Wait, what?
And it's also ineffective. It's also ineffective.
The wall is not going to get built.
Yeah, shocker.
Part of the wall has already been built.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do the percentage, Blake. Do the percentage of how much he said he was going to build and how much actually got built. It's not even close. It's not even. It's less than 2% of what he was going to build.
Let's see, 458 miles.
All right. No way. No, he didn't build 458 miles. Some of that was already there.
A lot of it was rebuilding.
That was already there.
It was rebuilding a lot of it.
No, he did not build 458 miles. That's something the right tried to policy across. There's no way he built that much.
See, you're a hater of Republican
No,
policies.
I'm a lover of being an American.
Right.
So I am firmly in the middle. You're a little further out to the left there.
Touch on this.
Yeah. All right.
And I'm not saying that if you're in the country illegally, you should stay.
Mm-hmm.
Go away. Mm-hmm. Shouldn't have been here in the first place. I don't disagree with that. But the fact that the way he's doing it, the strong arm way he's doing it, and how he's going after, anybody that gets caught up in the net, it's like tuna and dolphins.
Yeah.
You're going tuna fishing, and the poor dolphins got to get out of the net.
How many dolphins actually have gotten caught?
I have no
The
idea.
people I know that got hauled off, they were here. And they're, like I said, I like 2 of the 3 of them.
Tuna and dolphin?
Yeah. But they were definitely tuna. They weren't dolphins.
Okay.
So, it's I don't know how many are actually being caught that are can prove, have a license, and are still getting arrested. Because it's not hard to prove. I mean, here, I can pull out my wallet and show you that I'm I got my driver's license on me. I can vote. And that's the other thing I don't understand. Why do Democrats not want people to prove that they are in this country? Why are they saying that is hard for... Here, it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be.
What, to get a real ID?
Yeah.
Okay.
To get a driver's license and to prove you're a U.S. citizen.
I think you should.
Yeah.
Okay.
And why do Democrats think that is being prejudiced?
I don't necessarily know if it's, there's an apple and an orange, whether it's the rural African-American communities that the elderly don't have technological savvy or can get themselves to a position or don't drive to go and get themselves a federal ID. That's more the problem around voting. The issue for immigrants has nothing to do with voting because they can't vote. Theoretically, whether they're here as a guest or not. But the question on getting real ID is it's difficult for a lot of people in rural communities, a lot of elderly people, a lot of African-American people who don't have access to this, don't have the records to prove. Find me a 90-year-old person who can get their hands on their birth certificate.
They might have a better chance than the millennials today.
Fair point.
So I mean, I know exactly where my birth certificate is.
Yeah.
I know where Blake's is. I know where Ty's is. I know where Rebecca's is, and I know where Maeve's is.
And I know where mine is.
Yes.
And maybe Julie's.
Yes, we when we called that box the old shit box.
That's the old shit box. You grab the old
you
shit
grab
box.
that and go right.
You grab the old shit box.
Yeah.
There's important documents in
Absolutely.
there. Our Social Security
but
numbers
my little
are in there.
fireproof cave is heavy.
Yeah, it is a little weighty.
Yeah.
I also think our box also shares a Barry Bonds rookie card in there as well.
Well, let's not give
Blake,
let's not give away that much information here.
Right. What's the box? What's the box look like?
And
Where
by
in
the
the
way,
house? Right.
it's not in that box. It's in the safe.
Poor Blake is going to
That's in
look
the
for
safe.
it.
So, no, I'm telling you, here's something I found unique to this situation. This election, the Latin Americans shifted to Trump. Away from the Democratic Party. Now, I think it's because of their religious-based decision makers. All right, because the Democratic Party is the protector of
Everybody's rights.
Yeah, the rights,
Secularism,
the rights, and there's rules when you're a religious-based decision maker. So I think that's the reason they lean towards Trump. Do you think?
Who is a pillar of religiosity?
So I still haven't figured that one out.
So that's a huge disconnect.
I don't have anything that I can attach to why he was able to grab that.
It was because of the Dobbs decision, solely the Dobbs decision in the Supreme Court on so many levels. Yeah. I mean, you can boil that down to one agenda item, and it was Dobbs and the Supreme Court.
Okay,
and that's where he got a lot of that power.
But I don't understand that. But the Latin base, they knew exactly what he was going to do with the illegals. So the legal Latins here voted for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they vote for him in 24 the way he's managing this?
I think there's a lot of buyer's remorse across the entire spectrum of Trump voters, not the hardcore red hats, but a lot of people, and even some members of Congress are saying, we got to stop this. This is getting out of control. I also think that a lot of the Hispanic or Latin voters were doing it based on the economy and where the economy was for them in particular, because the economy was good at the time, and where he promised to take it.
Mm-hmm.